Finally, there is a Thief healing spec that is viable. And I'm not talking about only viable, it's on par with the meta supports. So without much further ado, let's jump right into this amazing build. So I will cover every intricacy that is to this build today, so be sure to watch the entire video to understand this build to its fullest. Let's start with the gear. So for gear, you want to go with full Givers armor with Rune of the Water, just for the maximum amount of healing power and concentration that you can get. If you can afford infusions, I would of course go with the healing ones. For trinkets, you want to go with full Magi trinkets, and for rings, you want to go with full Harrier. So those two rings are Harrier, everything else on the trinket side is Magi's. For weapons, I also would go with full Harriers. Just this mix ensures that you get to the concentration cap and you get the maximum amount of healing power. For sigils, I would go with concentration sigil on the scepter, and you run two pistols, so one pistol here and the other pistol in the other weapon set, so you can always swap between them. One of them will have paralyzation on them, just to ensure that you deal even more CC with your force skill, which is amazing for CCing. And on the other one, that would be your main pistol, you would use Sigil of Transference for even more healing output. For your relic, you will go with the Relic of the Herald. That way you get a lot of boon duration just from the relic itself. You can upkeep that almost all the time at 10 stacks. Really easy 250 concentration. For food and consumables, you of course have to go with Bountiful Maintenance Oil. It's by far the best choice for the utility consumables. Gives you so much outgoing healing power. It's amazing. And lastly, of course, Balls of Fruit Salad with mint garnish is the best option for healing and gives you more outgoing healing, more healing power, more concentration. Just perfect. If you can't afford it, the alternative option would be, of course, delicious rice balls. You will lose on the concentration here, but it's still worth it. So really, really important that you run food on healing builds. Now let's quickly talk about the trade setup. So the trades are always quite straightforward here. Shadow Arts, Trickery, and of course Specter. You get some nice healing when you enter or exit stealth. You get super speed when you enter or exit stealth, and you get some life stealing. That's not that important, but you get some nice barrier when you use a healing skill, and you use it quite often, so nice amount of barrier, really, really good. Then, after completing a shadow step, you are healed. Nearby allies are also healed for a large amount, so it's even better for your allies, so it's really, really good. So try to shadow step as much as you can. It heals a lot if you need the healing, of course. And then, gain protection when you enter or exit stealth. That's just helping you to survive. It's not for your allies. But it is applied when you stealth your allies. So if you stealth your allies, you also apply to them protection, but that's not so often the case, so just that you're aware of it. Then, Trickery. Nice initiative when you steal, so that also applies to your Siphon. Whenever, then you get some more maximum initiative and just some nice recharge reduction. That's the most important part here for the steal. Then you give some nice boons when you steal from an enemy. That's the important part. When you siphon from an enemy, you get Fury, Might, and Swiftness to you and your allies. Really, really long lasting, really helpful. Then you can steal boons from enemies with the siphon. Really, really good. Also gives you Vigor and Might. It's really, really strong. That's a very long lasting Vigor as well. And then you get initiatives when you swap weapons while in combat. Also very helpful. Be aware though, that also procs on entering Shadow's route. So very helpful there. You don't have to always swap between your pistols to actually proc that. And then we have Specter. Specter gives you access to your shroud. We will cover that in a second, what the skills are. But here I have the first choice that you can make. This is a nice condition transfer. So whenever you siphon from an enemy, you transfer conditions. When you siphon from an ally, you actually cleanse or remove conditions from them. So that's really helpful. If you don't need that much Condi cleanse, you can swap to Second Opinion. That will give you healing power based on your condition damage. It's a little bit of condition damage, helps. But both of those traits are totally fine. Then some more healing to others, that's important. And then you get some nice barrier application as well. But here, very important, Traversing Dusk. Heal areas in our area around when you shadow step again. So that means this trait and this trait will heal. That's really, really good. And gain Shadow Force for each ally in the radius. That helps you upkeep your Shadow Force. And Wells grant resistance on the impact. That's crazy because you are a build that can apply a high amount of resistance uptime just with this trait because you have so many possibilities with Wells. Really, really good. And then lastly, we get Shade Step. This is important, of course, because you want to upkeep Alacrity. So you get Alacrity, and your allies around your tethered target will also get Alacrity when you use a skill in the Shroud. So now let's talk about the Shroud skills, because those are really important. So for the Shroud, you want to use your auto attack as often as you can, because it's a very fast attack that will apply Alacrity and Might. Really, really good. Then you have your 2 skill. That's the other really important trait. It removes conditions on the target. It's an area, so it removes some nice conditions in the area, and is a blast finisher and gives again Alacrity. Those 2 skills always use them off cooldown. Then the 3, 4, and 5 are more situational. The 3 skill gives some nice barrier. Really good. It depends on how many targets you strike with this. And it's a nice CC. 4 skill is again a nice amount of conditions and Alacrity applier. And then your 5 skill, that's the more important one I would say, gives you stability on cast and is a blast finisher. So it's really, really good because it's also CC. So if you use that when you need stability, it can help a lot. So use all your Shroud skills whenever you need CC, 3 and 5, when you need stability, the 5, when you need healing, the 4, and maybe even the 2 to cleanse conditions. So that's the kit is really, really good. They just buffed it with this patch. It's really, really strong. And all of them apply Alacrity. Be aware, your Shadow Force is not only used when you are in Shroud, but it also takes some of your, or takes the damage that you take. It's really, really important that you are aware and treat this as a health bar, just like the Necromancer one. You can refill this by Shadow Stepping to an ally. You can refill that by siphoning from an enemy, and of course by spending initiative. Important thing here is that your siphon can either be targeted on an ally or an enemy. Like I said, enemies give you some nice boons. You can transfer conditions with the trait, and you steal also boons from them. It's very important. Also gives you Shadow Force. But be aware, you can also use it on an ally. Then the recharge is lower and it gives some nice barrier. And more importantly, the ally target will be the tethered target. That means all your skills that you use then in your Shroud will actually happen around them as well. That's really helpful, because that means that if they do a mechanic, you can still heal them. Really, really strong. Not a lot of healing builds actually can provide that. And it has a range of 1200, so it's really, really good. Be sure to target your ally before the fight starts if you know they are doing a mechanic and stuff, because otherwise it might be a little bit messy. Let's now talk about the utility skills. Always go for Well of Gloom, just a nice healing skill, and also heals an area and gives you resistance, your party resistance, really, really good. Then I would go for Shadow Step, just a nice stun break, another teleport, so that means also you get the benefits of the traits. And then Well of Bounty, amazing with the boons. It's crazy how many boons you get just from this thing. It's really, really good. In conjunction with your Shroud 5, you can upkeep 100% stability. It's really, really good. And then you get some nice CC on the Well of Silence. Also again, some nice resistance. Another CC on your Elite skill. It's a little bit longer from the cast time, but also more CC, and gives you resistance again. If you want to swap stuff, I would always go first for the Shadow Step, because if you don't need teleport and stun break and stuff for doing mechanics, then you can also swap, for example, there are multiple options here. You can go for Signet of Agility for a nice condi remove, and also some nice endurance for your allies, really helpful in condition heavy fights or where you need to dodge a lot, really helpful. Then you can use, of course, Shadow Portal. Shadow Portal you have to place, and when you activate it again, you can travel with up to 10 allies through it. They get stealth and they can teleport. It's a one-way portal, be sure to know this. And then you have also Prepare Pitfall, so that's also preparation, but if you use it correctly, you get some nice CC with this if you need more CC. You can even go for Shadow Refuge if you need more healing, and you can of course go for Basilisk Venom, which is an amazing CC if you get that on your allies as well. But I would say the typical setup would be something like that, because it's the most shadow steps you get, and also a lot of utility, because that removes conditions from yourself if you need that. Can be really helpful if you do mechanics. And now let's talk quickly about the skills here. We can use this as a smoke field, so you can stealth with an area blast finisher, but typically you don't use that. This is your CC skill. Be aware, use that on the pistol that has the paralyzation system to get more Defiance bar damage. The 2 skill is some nice barrier, might and protection. Really, really important. Use that often. Then your auto attack can be really helpful as well. Give some nice barrier if you target an ally with that. And then your 3 skill should also be targeted on an ally to get some nice healing, and also give some nice regeneration and vigor and barrier. Really, really strong. And be aware, this also hits allies around your allied target. They get a little bit less effectiveness, but it's still very, very strong. So make sure that you use that often as well when your ally target is in the middle of your group. So that's enough from the skills. Let's now quickly talk about what you should know about Specter and its rotation, because it's a little bit harder to play than some other supports, or a little bit, let's say not harder, but a little bit more different than other healers. The reason for that is a lot of your skills are single target and around the target. So that means you have to target your ally. How can you do that? It's very important that you set up this so-called personal marker. Use a specific keybind here, and if you then tap it, so to take the target, you can swap to it. It's only for you. Only you can see that, not your party. That's helpful because if you know that's one person, that, like the commander, is always staying on the stack, you can target those person and you will always target them. Of course, they have to be in a subgroup, otherwise it doesn't make sense because you will be the healer for your subgroup. So this is really important. If you want to know how to set it up, you can just go here and set personal target and take personal target. This is really helpful. Of course, you don't have to. You can also use the mouse or your squad UI, but I would highly recommend to do that with the keybind. It helps a lot. So because all your skills, especially the 2 skill, the siphon, and also the 1 skill here, are very important that you target your allies with that. Reason for that is your 3 skill is moving you, so that can be a bit annoying, and it's moving you to your target. So always target someone that is actually on the stack and you don't want to go out. This helps a lot. How you upkeep alacrity and that stuff is of course in the shroud. So using shroud skills will give alacrity. Like I said, Well of Bounty is amazing in boons, so always use it very fast. And of course also your stability can be upkept by the 5th skill in the shroud as well. Your siphon is also very important if you use it on an enemy, because it gives some nice fury, might, swiftness, vigor, and even more might, and steel spoons. It's very, very good. Then your 2 skill here is very important for protection, barrier, and might. The 3 skill is important for regeneration and even more vigor, and of course a lot of barrier and healing. It's really, really strong. And all your wells will also give resistance. So all your shadow skips give healing, and the resistance comes only from the wells. So now let's talk about the rotation. So you don't have that much of a rotation, you just have an opener that you should do just to get the boons running the fastest. So wait for the strip, always wait for the boon strip if you do a strike mission or a raid boss, that happens, and then use your Well of Bounty for all the boons, then use your 2 skill, Shadow Sap, and then instantly enter the Shroud. The Shroud, you should let the first auto attack be automatically casted and then do the 2 skill, and then you just use your auto attack a lot and your 2 skill and swap out of it again. While you are doing the auto attacks, you can also use the siphon on an enemy to get even more boons for your party. If you did that and did the 2 skill in Shroud twice, you can swap back into the normal form on Scepter. On Scepter, you again don't have that much of a loop. Typically, you use your 2 skill and then use your 3 skill on an ally to teleport to them, use your 3 skill again, and then use your 2 skill when you did that. Do some auto attacks until you have 3 initiative, and then use your 2 skill, the Shadow Sap again. And with that, you should be fine and go back into the Shroud. So it's always the loop is going into Shroud, using your auto attacks, doing the 2 skill, using your auto attacks, going back out after you use the 2 skill, use the 2 skill on Scepter, use the 3 skill on Scepter, use the 2 skill on Scepter, auto attacks, and again Scepter 2s, and go back into Shroud. So very easy, not that hard to remember, and just use your siphon on an ally or an enemy whenever you need to, especially if you use it on enemy, because it also gives you the nice boons and gives you the Shadow Force. You can see in the background, this build is very strong, how much barrier it can put out. It's very underrated how much healing and cleansing and boons it actually has. It's extremely strong after the patch. I would even go so far as would say it's a meta build right now. It's really, really good. So be sure to check it out, especially if you're Thief main. This is the build for you as a supporter. Really, really good. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe for more great content. Thanks for watching, and thanks to my supporters on Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube. Thanks Lane, thanks Malice, and I hope to see you all in the next video.